All right, here we are, another Saturday Night Live with our special guest, Colleen. What a
Hi.
wonderful surprise every time we have a wonderful guest to share their uh, experience and inspire others, and it's all beautiful.
Yeah, well, thanks for
So
having
you're welcome. Um, I'm here, so my internet is not great. So I'll keep my video off for now. I'll pop in and out a little bit here and there, but when I see this internet signal going down, I'll just cut it off because I've been losing signals. So, Aline, um, you've been around for a while
me. Yeah,
in our club.
yes,
You,
yeah.
you've you've done I think a few masterclass.
Yeah, I've done, I did 70 days in September, from September to November, and then I did another 21 days in January, and I'm just finishing 40 now. But I had already sort of, that was the, when I did my 70, I'd already done quite a few sort of 5 day, 10 days leading up to that. So I'd done quite a lot of mini masterclass before I did the long one. So I had a little bit of sort of practice. I didn't go straight into it. So yeah, so it's probably been since the beginning of last year is when I started experimenting with it.
Maybe we will talk a little bit about your background, what kind of lifestyle you came from. Where do you live, first of all?
Yeah, so I'm in London in the UK. But I was born and grew up in Cape Town in South Africa. So that's where I'm from, and I have lived in London for almost 21 years, so a long time now. But yeah, I mean, growing up in South Africa, I was one of 6 children, so I was the last of 6. There's a brother who's the oldest, and then 5 girls. So a huge amount of feminine energy in the house. Yeah, and obviously me being the youngest of that. So I grew up in a very big family, and you grew up sort of eating everything. You know, South Africa is quite a meat culture, so you know, they like to call it a braai barbecue. So that's a big part of the culture over there. So yeah, a lot of meat eating. But my parents are both sort of we only sort of I'm 3rd generation South African, so my grandparents were British, so we still had quite a lot of English traditions of big Sunday roasts and things like that as well. So
all the good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know, I mean, it was kind of home cooking. You know, everything was cooked from scratch, but it was just still you had your eggs, meats, whatever. And yes, you did have chocolates and whatever, but I don't know. I think things were a little bit more basic in South Africa back then when I was growing up. So you didn't actually have a huge choice of products. It was slightly sort of, you know, South Africa was quite cut off in those days. So, you know, but it was still a lot of meat, a lot of dairy, you know, a lot of all of that type of eating.
What grows in South Africa?
Sorry?
What, like, do you have fruits and vegetables growing?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So everything. I mean, it's sort of, you know, it's fruit, vegetables, obviously meat farming. You know, it's quite, South Africa was quite self-sustained, certainly back then as well, because we didn't have a huge amount of imports. So everything was grown and produced there. Nothing was imported. So yeah, there's a lot of farming. Obviously, you know, wine farming is a big thing, but you know, all sorts of fruits, and of course, meat farming. So yeah, so it's a big agricultural country, mining country as well. But yeah, so grew up like that, eating quite basically, but at the same time all the bits. But I think when I was growing up, when I was quite young, I was quite sickly, so I had a lot of health issues as a child. Really bad asthma, was always getting bronchitis, had eczema, lots of allergies. I eventually had my tonsils out. Probably I can hardly remember it. But I think I must have been about 4 or 5 when I had my tonsils out, which obviously is the worst thing you could do nowadays when you think about it. But
Did they
yeah,
grow back?
no, they haven't. But I never had. I mean, I remember my mum saying that I was just. I mean, I couldn't. My whole throat was just swollen up. I almost couldn't breathe. It was I was very, very sick child. So that's what they did in those days. They just whipped them out.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then had sort of asthma, bronchitis, all sort of bronchial issues and skin issues. So eczema, very dry skin. But as I got older, I seemed to grow out of it. Certainly, the asthma by probably about, I don't know, 14, 15, I was growing out of it. Certainly by 16, I wasn't really having asthma attacks or anything anymore. I would still, if I got a cold, I would still always get something on my chest. So I would always, if ever I got a cold, it would always turn into some sort of bronchial thing, but I wasn't getting asthma anymore. So yeah, so I kind of grew out of all my childhood ailments in that way. So I think actually because I was so sick as a child that I've almost in some ways not neglected my health, but almost sort of not seen health issues as that serious, because I was so ill as a child that I think, no, that's not properly sick. When you just see the small symptoms, you think, no, that's just a few bits. I've never really sort of taken some of my ailments that seriously. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, what else? I mean, when I was growing up, I was as I say, I was quite sickly. I was quite a skinny little child. And then as I got older, that kind of changed, and I started to put on weight in my teens. My mum was a great feeder. She really liked to cook and showed her love to us through food. Was very encouraging of us to overeat. And she was a great baker as well. So there was always cake and cookies and all sorts of things like that. Obviously she's made them, and so lovely homemade stuff. But we were encouraged to eat quite a lot of it, excessively. I think, sort of go on, have another piece, But strangely enough, my mum didn't eat a huge amount. She fed us huge amounts, but she hardly ate. She lived on black coffee, and I don't know what else, So, she kind of fed us. I don't know, in some ways she was feeding us what she would actually like to have eaten herself. I don't know. But yeah, so we were encouraged to eat more than we should have. And not necessarily, she would encourage fruit and whatever, but there was always so much cake and that type of stuff, that yeah, we were encouraged to overeat, and maybe
Well,
it was a way of, sorry.
yeah, when somebody's giving their love, right, they're getting that emotion back, and it's
Yes.
very satisfying for it. And that's the real food, the love, right? The physical thing is a process that we believe we need to do, but we could all leave that out.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think she did get a huge amount out of it, because also she was making it, so it was also, you know, if you really enjoyed it, it was showing how much, you know, she cared, and, you know, so I don't know, there's food is so weird, isn't it? There's so much emotion wrapped up in it. And I think that's what I've sort of, because of those early experiences and the way, you know, love was wrapped up quite clearly in food in my household and with my mum, I've continued with that. So, you know, have always been a fairly emotional eater. You know, if there's anything wrong, stress, unhappiness, whatever, you know, you turn to food. It was what I was taught, you know, that's what you do. So, you know, every emotional situation is regulated by food, be it happy or sad. You know, if there's a celebration, you eat. If there's sadness, you eat. So everything revolved around food. Every emotion evolved around food. So, you know, that's been quite a difficult one for me to crack over the years, is that sort of emotional attachment to food. And for a while I kind of thought I had done it and everything was fine, and I sort of had stabilized my weight for a long time in my 20s, and then it's sort of like, I don't know, like as I've got as pressure of life and things changed, I think I turned back to my old habit of using food.
Was it like binge eating, like like sit down like and eat, and then you're full but like you don't feel full, so you go and eat the same amount again, and then
Absolutely.
Do you do that? Yeah, I used to do that too.
Yes, yeah. So I'd never purge. I mean, I'd eat enough to make me want to purge, but I never ended up purging. But I, you know, definitely binge eating, where it's nothing to do with hunger, absolutely not, and you're full to the brim, but you come up, you put some more in, you know. So yeah, it's that, I don't know, as I've been thinking about it, I think it's also that sense of just heaviness from the food, you know. And also I think, yeah, it kind of just, I don't know, a lot of people speak about grounding. I'm not sure if it's grounding. It's just that feeling of being weighted down. I don't know.
You'll be too grounded that you can't even stand up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, been there. So yeah, I don't know. It's got weird sort of associations growing up with food. I think, you know, as I say, as I got a little bit older in my teens, I put on weight, and I got quite chunky as a teenager. And I kind of, when I was growing up, I then went to, it's similar to, do you get Weight Watchers there? It's similar to Weight Watchers, but in South Africa it was something called Weigh Less. It's a similar type of thing, and you go and you get weighed, and it's a, you know, dieting club, and they give you a diet, but all the food had to be weighed out. And there's kind of, there was a thing where you had what was called free food, what they called free food. And free food was, you know, like tomatoes and cucumber and all those type of vegetables, broccoli or whatever. So I think in some ways, when you can make these associations, that sometimes I think, to me, it's like, if I'm going to eat something, I'm just going to have a plate of vegetables like that. In some way, there's something that still says to me, oh, but that food doesn't count. That's free food. You really have to have the meat and the potatoes for it to be proper food. You know, it's like we make these associations. And I mean, I was quite only a teenager. And I think those type of things stick, you know, these ideas of what food is and what counts as real food. And you can't possibly be sustained just on some tomatoes and cucumber, and because that's free food, you know, you can have as much as you want of that, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, I've had the same thing, you know, don't eat the fruit before you eat, or you won't eat.
Yes, you'll ruin your appetite.
Yeah.
Because I guess because they put the effort into the heavy food, and they want you to, you know, basically eat their effort, you know, like their whatever love as well, you know, and they, you know, but they work hard to make a meal when they really don't have to, and then we have to eat it, and we can't eat the fruit because we have to eat the meal that they just made. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And I think also because it's such a, I don't know, meat type culture, and there was always meat. I mean, I would say, I mean, we probably had meat every night, I'd say. You know, I have got this sort of association that in order to feel full, you kind of had to have that stuff. You had to have either meat, potatoes, those type of things. And also, I think, you know, because we grew up in such a big family, you know, 6 kids, it's you know, it's financially quite a pressure. So, you know, money was tight. And I distinctly remember my mum saying things like, if I was going to leave things on my plate, she would say, well, at least finish the meat or the chicken or whatever it would be, because, you know, that's what we paid for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could leave the other stuff, but at least finish that. So there was quite a lot of, you know, value put on that type of food.
Yeah, the value in terms of the price, in terms of the effort that they put into it, and then the kids have to pay the price.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, whereas actually, if you wanted to finish the broccoli rather and leave surely that in some way should have been encouraged, but it was more important to finish the chicken, you know.
That's
so I
all,
think
that's all the programming, and nobody, the truth is, until today, people are still confused about this information. They don't know. Many don't, the majority don't know.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think it is part of our programming, and I think, you know, it's to become aware of that, of these associations that you create, and why you have some of your deeper beliefs or that we carry. You know, what sort of program is running, even sort of such on an unconscious level, but all of those bits of experiences and that information is coming up every time I think of food or eating or feeling full or whatever. And it's to try break those things. And I certainly think, you know, doing something like this, Master Fast, you know, becoming much more aware generally of what we're eating and our choices, you know, it starts to break that down.
When did you change your diet?
So I was, I've been sort of playing with detox probably, well, for a long time. What I called detox years ago, at least, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, was sort of going on cutting all meat, cutting all dairy, cutting eggs, you know, almost sort of just being a whole food plant-based. I would see, like 12 years ago, I used to classify that as detox. So I'd do that a few times a year for maybe a month, you know, maybe 3 times a year. And I thought I was doing really, really well with that type of thing. And then I'd go back to eating everything again, you know. And then about, I'd say 4 years ago, I started doing sort of more juicing and stuff like that, but green juicing, juicing and smoothies and things like that. So I'd maybe do that for like a week at a time. And back then I thought that was amazing. I mean, I was brilliant, you know, to do something like that. So, and I'd do that a few times a year, but it would only be for maybe a week at a time. And I wasn't doing tinctures and I wasn't doing enemas or anything like that. I was just doing, but I thought that was detoxing, I thought. So that probably started about 4 or 5 years ago. And then I found Master Fast at the beginning of last year. And that obviously then just took it in another level completely. And it obviously educated me about proper detox as well, and what actual proper detox is, and realized I potentially could have been actually doing more harm to myself doing those week-long juice fasts without any enemas or support or whatever, but they weren't long. But at the same time, I had thought that that was amazing what I was doing, and then I could just go back to eating the way I was. So I was still eating meat and fish, but I wasn't eating very much red meat. So I would still eat chicken and fish and a little bit of red meat here and there, and mostly sort of you know, what was seen maybe as clean eating. So everything cooked from scratch, nothing out of a bottle, but it was still, you know, eggs, dairy, and chicken and fish. And then beginning of last year, when I found MasterFast, I decided to cut all of that out completely as well. So, you know, doing the fasts and then in between staying plant-based, as much mucusless as possible. And that's been hard, that adjustment. You know, I've found the fast in some ways easier. It's the eating in between that I found more difficult. But I think every time I do it, each time I start eating again, it gets better. So my choices are better. You know, there were times in the beginning which I really slipped off the wagon quite a lot. So that's happening less. But it, you know, it is a process, and it doesn't happen overnight.
Absolutely. Today is day 39.
Sorry?
Today is day 39 for you? Okay,
yes,
so tomorrow is your last.
tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's my third. So I kind of thinking, I mean, I'd love to one day do the 108. I'm happy with these shorter ones for now. I think, you know, I was really pleased I did the 70. I'm kind of thinking if I could do 3 a year of maybe 2 40s and a 28 to get the 108 every year, maybe. I don't know. So maybe do that. I'll still do another 40 after the summer in September. And then I'll see next year, maybe start with a 28 in January and then do a 40 and 40.
Awesome.
And,
but yeah.
And go ahead, yeah.
I was going to say, but then maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll feel more ready for the 108. I don't know. You know, I just want to listen to my body, really.
Yeah, nobody has to do the 108. But if you want, I mean, it's going to be deeper, of course. You're going to, you know, go deeper with the cleanse. I would say after 2 months, 3 months, then you start feeling it more and more and more. It's amazing, but it's really deep. Without realizing, you start feeling maybe around day 100, you feel something, you know, draining, like almost your head, something foggy, you know, fogginess in your head or pain somewhere in the body. It's wild, but it's nice.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's nice, you know. It's like if you know, when you learn about detoxification, you know, and understand that this is cleansing, so you don't freak out.
Yeah, well, that's it. I'd love to experience that because you know, when I've done the fast, you do start to notice the difference as it goes on, don't you? It's sort of,
Yep, definitely.
You know, it kind of does. It's just suddenly. I mean, when I've started, I've always been a fairly slow starter in that. When I did the 70 days, it was only probably about day 20 when I first got my first releases. So I was quite slow, and even this time I've done it, I thought, oh well, it'll be quicker because I've already done a 70, but it wasn't actually. I just think my body takes a while to kick in, and then even now I'm kind of thinking, I've really started to notice how suddenly my body seems to be getting rid of stuff now this last week. You think, oh, I'm just getting in there, now I'm going to finish the 40, but I kind of think this round I'm done for this round. I kind of think I want to focus also on the refeeding and getting that right as well. I think that's really important too.
That's the most important. Your lifestyle, what you do every day, that's the most important. Are you? Did you do the dry fasting schedule before when you broke the fast?
So what I did was when I did the 70-day one, I continued with my dry fasting, which I was doing about 40 hours a week. And then I was doing, with the first one I did, I was doing daily about 14 hours, sometimes 16 hours. So when I first finished the fast, I continued with that up until probably December. And then I must say, when Christmas came, that was when things fell apart a bit. It had, nobody around me is on this journey at all. So my husband is still eating meat and still eats I wouldn't say a typical sad diet, but he eats, meat and dairy, but he's cut down a lot. So I am sort of slowly getting him there. But, so everybody around me is still eating and drinking and whatever. So Christmas was difficult because there was all of those old things came back. It really tested me. So my eating over Christmas wasn't ideal. I mean, it was still all plant-based and stuff. It wasn't always mucus-less or mucus-lean, but, I did try my best. But that's when my weekly dry fast fell off. So I was then did it every second week, and then I didn't do it. Probably I did it maybe once in the month, and so it kind of fell off. And that's when I decided to then get it back on and do another 21 days just to get myself back on track after Christmas. So that was good. That put me much more back on track. And then afterwards, I seemed to be able to maintain the mucusless sort of way of eating a lot better.
And the dry fasting, you kept going with that after?
So the dry fasting I kept up. I still wasn't brilliant. I would start off as well, good, and then I was doing it maybe twice a month.
Yeah.
But I was still doing it. But and I was doing daily. I was still doing my daily dry fast though. I was still keeping that in. So I was still doing 14 hours daily. But it was just the longer weeklies that I was finding hard to maintain. This time I'm hoping that I'm going to be better at that. I'm going to be. I think I just need to be much more planned. I just have to write it all out and stick to the schedule. I think that's what I need to do. See it as a schedule, and that's what I do. The master fast is very good for because there's a protocol. You know what to do. You're following it, and I think I need to, for my own feeding thing, have write my own protocol in a way.
Yeah, definitely. You want to find your balance, find how to make it work for you. We say master fast works if you work it. Like you can. Anybody can do it, but it can be tricky, of course. It's a process, right?
Yeah.
If up and down until you find your balance, and slowly the ups and downs are less and less, and you'll be more and more balanced, as long as you don't give up on yourself and just do something completely different, right? Your weekly dry fasts were on the longer side, 40 hours. When you're eating, it's okay, but when you're fasting, I think it's best to stick to 24 hours a day, because otherwise you will feel tired quickly, because it will be deeper than you can handle, and you don't want to go too deep too fast. The daily, 12 to we say 12 to 15, I think. It's good to. I would minimize it, make it minimum. If when you're eating, it's fine. But when you're fasting, I would say keep it minimum, so you don't go too deep. And so you did 16 hours on this one, a little bit on the higher side.
So this time I was doing 16. I found it easier in terms of the dry fasting this time. So I was, 16 hours was pretty easy to do. In fact, even when I got to 16, I could have gone a bit longer, but then I made myself not. So it was strange, because the last time I did it, I found by the time my wet window was coming in, I really wanted the juice. So it's been quite a different experience from the first one.
As you get cleaner, you're gonna be less thirsty. As you get cleaner and cleaner, you'll be less and less thirsty, less dehydrated, less toxic. But still, even if you can do it and it feels amazing, the dry fasting can be tricky. You wouldn't feel it doesn't hit you until all of a sudden, like after a week of after a few weeks actually of doing the long weekly, then you feel sometimes it's like this. So you feel it's too much, and then you fall off and you fall hard, and you don't want to fall hard, especially when you start eating.
Yes.
At least you want to maintain the same schedule during the fast.
Every person will go through a different experience, and every different fast is a different experience. Just embrace it all. Slow, steady, persistence, consistency is how we get there. You know, trying to run a marathon when you haven't even crawled yet, it's not going to work. And this is, some people have been doing it at the start, and they crashed. You don't see them anymore. You know, so slow, steady as you're doing is wonderful. You know, you're setting up yourself for a few, you know, pretty long ones every year. That's excellent. And just got to set your intentions for the in between times, the eating times, which is the biggest challenge for most of us, because we're so programmed with our eating. But yeah, you know, you're doing great. You know, it's wonderful.
Thank you. Yeah.
What other health?
I have a question.
What other health challenges have you had?
Yeah. So I've had when I came to Master Fast, I didn't have any obvious health concerns. I know a lot of people who started have, you know, they're very ill, and this is sort of a last resort for them in some ways. That's what brings them to it. So that wasn't the case for me at all. It was more just wanting to expand myself and spiritually grow, and wanting to break through to something else, and be more connected to my body. But saying that, I think now I realize actually I did have health issues which I was sort of ignoring. I mean, I've had really big skin issues, very, very dry skin. I mean, yeah, beyond what is normal. If you can imagine dry skin, just times that by 10. It's really, really dry skin. So I think maybe there's a thyroid issue, and also I've had IBS, which I sort of ignored, but I've always had sort of digestive issues going on. But as I say, because I think I had been so sick growing up, these didn't seem enough to be worried about. So I think doing this has really highlighted to me some of the actual health issues that I do have that actually need fixing, and it's sort of it's brought it more into my awareness and more to the surface. And I think that's what I say when I say I feel more connected to my body. I think for a long time I'm quite sort of a person who overthinks, and I'm quite in my head a lot of the time. So I think I'd almost cut myself in some ways off from my body, and being too much in my head. So, you know, we need both, don't we? We need to be sort of integrated into the body and the mind. And I think that was in some ways, you know, why I came to do it. And it has done that. It's certainly made me feel more connected to my body. And of course, if you're more connected to your body, you're more connected to your feelings, because, you know, we can suppress feelings through the body. And I think that's perhaps what I've done. And I've been far too much in my head, and you cut off from my emotions and from my body. And being connected more to my body is allowing me more to discover some of my more suppressed emotions.
But everybody's like that, huh? Everybody's like this, in my opinion. Look, I mean, in the West, I don't see any, like, most people are like busy. You know, everybody's, you know, occupied with something, and their mind is somewhere else. You know, they're not connected. We're not connected here. I mean, I think it's important to pray. In my opinion, this is how we connect. Pray, meditate, whatever you want, but connect. Take a few, minutes every day. a couple of times a day, in my opinion, at least, you know, and just meditate for a few minutes. Pray, do whatever, you know, whatever you know to meditate. You know, if you know how to pray a certain way, then pray and connect to God, to the universe, and slow down a little bit and start, you know, because sometimes we don't make sense anymore. We just go, you know.
Yeah.
And we're lacking that. I don't see it here. Nobody does it. And I come from Saudi Arabia, you know, we grew up in a Muslim country. I mean, it's not about any religion, but it's about, we used to pray there, you know, and not everybody does, of course. Not everybody does, but I used to pray 5 times a day. And that was huge for me. That was like the only thing that helped me stay focused. Everybody else would be distracted if they're not, you know, when they're not connected, even there, you know. And I see this lacking here. So I see everybody's like this almost. And I see it's a big reason why we are struggling with anything, whether it is breaking our fast, breaking this or that, you know, or just without fasting, you know, we're struggling. Emotionally, everybody's struggling.
Yes, well, that's it. I mean, we all, as you say, far too busy, not centering ourselves enough. But that's what when you're saying that about the meditating or praying or whatever, that's also what I've made sure with this fast that's been different is I've had more of a morning routine on this fast where I would every morning now before the day sort of begins is the first thing I do. I would always meditate, but now I'm sort of making it more in a routine. So every morning I meditate and I sort of start the day that way. So I do a meditation, I maybe do a little bit of rebounding or something like that, and then I do some dry brushing. So that's my kind of morning routine, and I kind of think that has really also helped to set me up really well for the day. Because as I say, I would always meditate, but I would do it sort of ad hoc time, so there wasn't a set plan of what I do. So I think doing this and getting a good morning routine going has really helped as well, and it's really set my mind up well for the day. So that has helped. Doing meditations, visualizations. Before when I was doing the last fast, I kind of I didn't do that much dry brushing or anything like that because I didn't, once again, have a routine of when I did it. Whereas if you build something in, that every morning you do this, and it just becomes part of your day. Whereas I try to fit it in, and then it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. Trust me. I mean, these things, you want to make time for them. You know, for example, in Islam, you know, now, I mean, I'm just saying one religion, but I'm sure everybody can do that with any religion. But there are 5 times, and you must pray at that time. Like it's not a must, but I mean, these are the times. You know, it's a prayer time. Okay, you get up and you pray. You're busy with this, you're busy with that, you do it, you know, unless you're working, and yes, it's emergency. But if you're just sitting down, you're working on your computer, get up and do your prayer and come back.
Yes, I think that's really important, because I think, you know, we need to also consolidate. So, you know, when we are doing anything during the day, taking in information, learning, speaking, whatever it may be, you need that time for your brain to be able to consolidate that information and just have that reflective, quiet time to be able to consolidate what's just gone on around you and put it into the correct part of your memory and your brain.
Yeah, otherwise you wouldn't do it.
The thing that, you know, a lot of people start getting into true detoxification, and they say they're going to listen to their body. They don't have a clue what their body's talking about because it's so plugged up. Yeah. And many people stop because they think that whatever is happening, and it's furthest thing from the truth. They're so plugged up, so numbed out, they have no connection to their body. That takes quite a bit of time before that starts happening. And that's why I'm one that advocates to get in there and start digging very deep on some of the long ones. And of course, we need to make it a lifestyle and clean eating and so on and so forth. But that's the challenge that I see with a lot of people, making these assumptions that they're listening to their body when they have no clue what the body is saying. Because if they did, they wouldn't be in the trouble they were in.
Yeah.
Because and everybody's wanting to find something to help them uh, uh, find the situation they're in. Otherwise, they wouldn't be trying to do a master fast in their lifestyle. Everything would be fine and dandy. But this level of true detoxification is very unknown out there. From all I've seen in the last 27 years, very few people understood about really need to give the stomach, the digestive system, a vacation, a long vacation, to really allow the body to start to reprogram itself and bring itself to balance. And it's got to be a lifestyle. This is the other thing that I see, that most people don't want to understand. That they're looking for that. Oh, I'll do the fast and go back to where I was before. We see that over and over. Whereas no, this is just your beginning. 108 days is just the start to open the doors and open up to your new lifestyle. You either walk through or you close and then go back. And this is the challenge that I see in today's fast-paced, instant gratification societies. And it's going to take time for all of us to change our programming and our habits, and it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
And also,
if we commit, right. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, I was going to say it's, and also a lot of people, they will say things like, well, why do you need to detox? You've got, you've got a liver for that, or whatever, and people have these ideas, that actually detox isn't necessary, that our liver should, is capable of doing it and filtering and this, but obviously our bodies weren't really designed for the amount of toxicity that's in our environment. Our physiology hasn't really changed at
Exactly.
all in thousands of years. So, it wasn't designed for this, this
Mm-hmm.
level. So I get that quite a bit when I'm telling people what I'm doing, But I also think sometimes it's when people hear things, they're challenged in this way about what they think is right, then they immediately get defensive of it because it's sort of challenging their idea of the way the world works and what is correct. And so they can get quite annoyed and defensive because it makes them look at what they're doing and they want to be, oh, I'm okay, I can carry on eating this, my liver will do it, so people don't like it, they get quite upset, and you kind of think, well, why are they getting so upset? It's what's it to them if I decide to detox? But it's because it's holding up a mirror to them and they don't like
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
And it always goes back to the emotion, because that's the seed of all the challenges everybody has. Always goes back there. All creation starts through intent and emotion. Every single speck of creation.
yes,
And
yeah, yeah, and also emotions, can be just as toxic. You know,
mm-hmm.
it's and stress. I mean, that's what they say. With stress, is that it's a much bigger worry for things like heart disease and stuff like that than actually anything you eat. It's stress and those type of things. What you're doing to the body in that way. So I think it's a two-pronged approach, isn't it? I mean, obviously the two go hand in hand, but you have to also deal with that emotional side as well as the physical side.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Have you considered
Always. You know,
yeah, Yeah, you know, so have you considered, Colleen, um, I know you want to do a few long fasts within 1 year, you know. Have you considered maybe doing something that is maybe, I found myself from my experience, it's much easier to incorporate fasting into my weekly, my week, you know, rather, and make it consistent. So every week is pretty much the same, so that it's not a huge change as a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that you have lots of more fasting days actually this way into your lifestyle, instead of eating most of the time and then doing a few like 40 day fasts. So for example, let's say fasting for 3 days or 4 days a week, you know, or even more if you want, or less.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think I think that that's also a good idea. I also quite liked. I know Peter was doing 9 days a month or something like that. So that was also quite nice, incorporating maybe a 10-day or something once a month. But yes, I think maybe those are things to play with as well. Is doing more of a hybrid type thing, and then
Yeah.
that will also help with. You know, the refeeding and the eating parts, you know, because you become more and more practiced in that.
Yeah, so you don't have a very long break
Yeah,
between
yeah,
the fasts. Yeah.
because that, you know, that is the part that I have found the hardest, I must say, is making those good choices and sticking with it. But at the same time, I'm not. I don't want to beat myself up about it when I don't do, you know, brilliantly, because it is all a learning experience, and you know, it's taken me a long time to get into this position. So I have to, you know, untangle it all and unpick it all, and get back to a better position, and you know, and that might take a while. So you know, as much as I might have days or weeks where I haven't eaten brilliantly, it's kind of, well, each time I do it, I am learning more and I am gaining more and getting further along. So it's maybe slow, but it's going overall in the right direction.
Definitely, absolutely. Yeah, it's just when you do the fasting eating, like with like shorter times, it gives you more practice. It gives
Yes.
you more practice.
Yeah.
So it's nice. I found it easier on me emotionally, and I come from binge eating. I mean, I ate until I can't eat anymore. Like I eat, nothing is enough. Um, and and I found that when I did 1 day a week, that was amazing. That was a really like eye opener for eating. You know, that was amazing. Yeah. So, but that's what I did, and you can experiment with different
Yeah.
versions of.
So you didn't find that when you did that, then when you were eating in between, you wanted to binge?
So I ate only 1 day a week when I did Master
Right.
Fast weekly, and 1 day a week. If you remember, when you break your 70 days and when you break your 40 days that you did, um, the first day, did you binge? There's no way you will
No,
binge the
no,
first day.
no,
Exactly, and so that's why it was so easy to not mess up so much, you know, because the first day is easy to eat, but it's usually the second day, the third day, then you're tempted
yes.
to eat. And because I did only 1 day of eating, the next morning I washed my colon and I started, and everything was fine. I'm not hungry. Just busy with my work, you know. I
Yeah.
started on Monday, and the weekend comes and I have time to prepare food and buy food, and you know, so it was very convenient. You can do 2 days a week, but I would say the cravings would be bigger if you eat
Yes.
for yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, sometimes what I'd end up doing is still eating raw and mucusless, but I'd just eat too much of it. You know, it'd just be way too much. Just the biggest salad known to man. You know, it's just way over the top. So you know, it's still possible to be eating the right foods, but then overeating on that. So I found there was a few days where I was doing that, and then that was leaving me feeling really quite bloated with all that sort of raw veg, you know, or so, yeah. And as I say, I think it sort of highlighted to me as well some of my more, you know, my digestive issues. So if I ate the fruit and say veg too close together, it was definitely, I noticed fermentation. So yeah, so I'm hoping, you know, to improve on that as well. But I think, you know, as Gina was saying, you know, it's like people, you think that you're connected to your body, or you're listening to your body, you're not. And I think that is so right, because obviously I haven't been connected to my body at all, and I'm only just starting to hear it and starting to feel it. So, you know, I can't rely on the messages right now either from my body, because I don't necessarily think that's going to be that accurate. I think I'm only just starting to tune into it. So I think I can still get it really wrong. So, you know, that's a long process as well, I think. But yeah, it's all good. I think, you know, or this whole experience and keeping it as a lifestyle is, you know, I'm just learning so much more about myself and my health and my body. Things that I just neglected, just totally neglected.
Yeah, you have what you are doing is definitely a big change from where you came from, right? I mean, like, you were eating meats before the first master fast, right?
Yeah.
And also the environment around you, everybody is still eating meat, you know? So
Yeah.
it's a big change for you. So your emotions will, you know, be gentle with them, because you are surrounded by this, you know?
Yes.
Whereas somebody who has changed their diet so much in like the past years before the master fast, what happens, everybody around them is used to them already being different. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit easier in that way. A little bit easier. So yeah. So for you, it's a big change for you know, big change, definitely. And so it's going to be a little bit challenging for you to fit what you're doing into the lifestyle, because people have to get used to you.
Yeah.
And you have to get used to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And people and also sometimes I think people don't like, you know, they don't like change, even when it's not their change. It's just you are different, you're doing something different, and that, you know, people don't necessarily like that. People can be uncomfortable by that. And so, yeah, I suppose it is. It's ultimately I'm becoming a new person or a different person. But I like to sort of think I'm sort of becoming, you know, more myself, more actually who I actually am. You know, so, and discovering that more. So yeah, it's exciting, but it's been difficult, I think, in terms of, I mean, my husband's been very supportive, so that's great. But obviously he's just not, he's intrigued by it all and interested in it all, but not ready to give it a go. Definitely has cut down massively on the meat and stuff, eating much more vegetarian food. And my son is a vegetarian, so, you know, I do. My daughter's not. I mean, she doesn't want to give up her chicken or her fish, but, you know, my son has. But I'm, you know, slowly trying to encourage them, and my son has definitely got on board, and he's now wanting to give up dairy as well and become vegan. So, you know, it is changing in my family, but it has been tricky for us as a family with me doing this. But thankfully, you know, as I say, my husband's been supportive of it, just not with it. So I can imagine that must be difficult for him to sort of, you know, that I'm doing this thing and I've decided to do this thing. I'm sure it must have been in some ways quite confusing for him to start off with.
It's not easy for them, for sure, because when they eat something, they want to, it's an emotional thing. They want to enjoy it with their partner.
Yeah. And, you know, we did a lot of that. We did a lot of, you know, we were always big foodies. We would always go and try out one of the new restaurants, or we loved eating out. So it was part of what we did as a couple as well. So that's changed things.
The big emotional tie to the eating is the biggest challenge. People are not ready to make those changes. That's what it is. They're just too emotionally tied to their eating.
Yeah. And it was difficult, I think, because although my husband was supportive of what I was doing, I think he just always thought it would come to an end. So when I was doing the fast, I said, so when you finish, should we go try that restaurant? Or he would, we start talking about almost like the old thing. It's like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. There isn't a finish, So it's kind of, what the alternative is now. I've sort of really looked into, because obviously London is so diverse of what's on offer. So, there are raw vegan restaurants and stuff like that. So, he's happy to get on board with that and come and experience that. So he said, well, let's go try some of those things then, that there will be options there for me, and probably better for you too. So, thankfully he's not the type of man who goes, don't be ridiculous, I'm not doing that, so, or I don't want to eat that stuff, why should I go? So he's not at all like that. So that's fortunate. But yeah, it's trying to sort of find our new balance now.
I have a tip for you. Honestly, get into making the best food you can ever make. Mucusless, clean fruits and vegetables, and love them with food, because they're used to love with food, right? They're used to be comforted with food, and eat it with them because it's clean. And just, you want to be a little bit creative, of course, and you want to have time for that. But it's a good way to love them and share with them. And if they want the chicken, then they can, you can make a chicken on the side for them or whatever. But,
yes. Yeah, well, I've been doing, my husband, he's comes from an Italian family, so he had, in some ways, a similar upbringing to me. He was, loved with food, it was all about the cooking. But yeah, I've been doing quite a bit of, because as I was saying, my son is vegetarian, so when I do his food, then I'll sort of do a variation, like if my husband and daughter want meat with it, I'll do sort of some meat to put in it. So I end up sort of sometimes making 3 different lots of food. I have sort of a base that's similar, and then have 3 versions of it. So yeah.
Yeah, us Italians are a tough sell.
Yeah, and also very meaty. Italians like meat too, don't they? Lots of the cured hams and.
Yeah, we eat everything.
Yeah, so that's difficult, because that's his culture as well. But and his mum, is Italian. She's come around and sort of, it's sort of almost, you can see there's just confusion. It's like, what, why? It doesn't. But surely you still eat fish. Because obviously fish doesn't count as meat.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah.
What you were talking about, things about things that got better that you didn't even expect, that you had challenges, like your skin. Anything else was there?
Yeah.
That happened.
My skin is definitely looking so much better. I mean, it's not just the skin, it's sort of just almost like the texture of my flesh almost. It's sort of, it just seems firmer, and
elasticity.
Definitely much more elasticity in my skin. I just feel, I suppose, much clearer in my head. And, you know, I'm still working obviously on my digestion, but I feel that that's improving. But just generally feeling like healthier, like stronger in my body, which is weird because you're stripping it. But
do you feel you look younger?
Yeah, I'd say my the skin on my face is also feels like it's got more elasticity. I feel it's less. Yeah, it definitely looks less aligned. Yeah, I would say I probably look younger. The only thing which hasn't been great, which I know it will turn around, I have every confidence that it will, is that after the 70 days, I did lose a lot of hair. From my head. So I'd say my hair is probably about half as thick as it was.
So that's when you started eating, right?
Yeah. So when I broke the fast.
Not on the mat. Yeah, I know. It's that. Yeah. It's the food. It's the food. I had it every time I broke my fast. When I don't eat properly, my hair would just fall and fall and fall, and it's scary. My hair now is very small, very light. I mean, very thin when I tie it. But honestly, like new hairs are coming out when I fast. The color of my hair changes, and then less white hairs, and then the texture of my hair feels much better when I'm fasting than when I'm eating.
Yes.
Everything. It's just amazing.
Yes. And I know a lot of food. Yeah, and I know a lot of people who have had the same issue. They've said that their hair has grown back, and it's grown back fuller and thicker, and so I'm I'm confident that it's going to be okay.
But you know what?
When that happens.
Yeah, but you want to remember why it happened after the fast. It happened after the fast. During the fast, I would say the first month I would lose hair, but after a month, my hair starts, I feel better. I feel it's getting better and better and better and better. So remember, the only reason your hair fell after the fast is because of the food, especially when you don't eat well.
Yeah, I mean, someone else was saying as well, it's lymphatic congestion in the head, which then that the hair has grown on sort of toxic ground, if you like, and so it's when that's coming out, the acids and stuff. And I think I do have quite a lot of congestion in my head from sort of looking at the eyes and stuff, and also I get a lot of, especially during the dry fasting, I get a lot of popping and stuff in my ears. So I think I generally do have a lot of congestion in the head area.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but the hair will start falling, in my opinion, and from my experience, only after the fast, when I don't eat well. Not on the fast after, let's say, after the first month.
Yeah, no, it didn't do it during it.
So even if the head is congested, why didn't it fall during the fast? Why did it fall after the fast? So it really messes up the food when we don't eat well. It messes up the whole body.
It could fall out during the fast, after the fast.
Yeah, but from my experience,
a few people have had it during the fast. The second part of the fast, which is breaking the fast, is the second phase, which lasts at least twice as long. There's lots going on when you break the fast. Lots going on. So if your hair is not, coming back, then you just got to keep digging. That's all you got to do. Just keep digging.
More fasting and
body's not
eating
complete.
clean.
This is why the instant gratification, it doesn't happen. Make that commitment for the 9 years, and then if it's still haven't gotten where you want to be, you commit for the next 9 years, and so on and so forth. That's how you do it. There's no end.
I'm saying this because I know I was approached by somebody who told me she lost a lot of hair, and she's so worried, and I feel like she's blaming it on the fast. But she ate horribly for a year after her long fast, after 108 days. And she knows, and she was binge eating. So of course she would, so because she never lost hair that much.
The second phase.
But how can you blame it on the fast when it fell after the fast? You
can blame everything you want on the fast. But people forget about their 20, 30, 40, 50 years of what they did to their body very quickly.
Yeah, we quickly forget once we start eating, for sure. we quickly forget once we start eating.
Yeah, it's easy to sort of fall back into sort of old patterns, especially when you're surrounded by everybody who's still living that lifestyle.
Which is mostly everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's funny because, you've been in the group for so long, and it's just this type of talk and way of thinking is just part of my mindset now. And then I forget sometimes when I'm talking to somebody else who knows nothing about this, and then I start talking about 40 days, and then they're the horror that comes over their face. When you forget, actually, I suppose if you haven't heard of this stuff, it would sound shocking.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit blasé about it now when I talk about it. And you forget, like, actually, wait a second, you have to brace people for this.
Yeah, I remember my exposure to somebody fasting 3 days or something way back in my early 20s. I was horrified. Oh, 3 days, because I never missed a meal in my life.
Yeah.
At that time.
Yeah. No, people get very, very shocked. And some people are genuinely interested, but most people, they want to then tell you why it's so bad and what deficiencies, and so it always surprises me when people do that, because what's it to them? You choose your life, I'll choose mine.
Yeah. It's we wish it was that simple, but living in society, everybody has a feel and effect from words, and they take things personally, like the soul sees this and understands what's happening, and the physicality saying no way, the monkey mind saying no way, man, I like this, I like my numbness, I like the way I am right now.
Yeah.
They don't want to change.
No, exactly, because then they might have to feel, and if they feel, they might have to then face all that suppressed stuff, or
Yeah, exactly.
And that's a difficult one. Face their fears, face reality. It's easier to hide, but it's a half life, isn't it? Then it's not a full life.
Yeah, just when we look around, who's living a full life these days? Everybody's working their butts off trying to survive, and a lot of people are not happy. They're doing things they don't like to do just to survive. So
they have lots of temporary happiness, things that make them temporarily happy, like food, for example.
Stimulants.
And that's why there is no way they will give up these things. These things are what makes them happy, So I mean, I remember I was like this, I can't wait to go out and eat something, and then and treat myself, and because I'm stressed out, so otherwise I'm just tired and miserable, you can say, because I'm not living my dreams, I'm not doing what I love.
Yeah, we get our fixes through food, through sex, through sports. Some people use drugs, alcohol, many different ways that they can get their little fixes to feel that temporarily time of betterness.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Yeah, and also I think people equate fun to happiness. If you're having lots of fun out with your friends at a party, whatever, then you must be happy.
Right.
And people sort of equate how much fun you're having with happiness, and of course you can have tons of fun, be out all the time, you're not necessarily happy.
Drinking is a big one.
Yeah, and people see that as, we're having fun, it's fun. And you're not fun if you don't want to do that, because that's fun. So it's quite warped, isn't it? We grab these things, these little bits where we can, and we pretend that is happiness, or that is making us happy. But we're sort of far cut off from what real, happiness is, or joy and contentment. that it's too scary to actually even think about that. You'll realize actually how we're not. So yeah, I mean, for me, that's been a huge part of it as well, is just really connecting with the true essence of myself and trying to find that joy from within. You know, I don't need these other things. They're just false crutches. They're not real joy or real bliss.
Correct. Yes. The grass is greener right where you are.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's inside. Everyone's looking outside to find that joy and happiness. Whereas if you look inside, you know, you'll probably find it, you know, but it's not the obvious place for people to look sometimes, or they don't know how to look. So, you know, that's been a huge part of this for me, is going on that journey of stripping back and looking inside myself, and a journey of self-discovery, you know, which is, it's a different type of healing. It's not just physical healing, it's emotional and spiritual healing, which was in some ways that, you know, the main reason why I came to it. But I knew that I had to also find a way to be more connected to my physical body. So it's done that, and it's doing that for me.
Fasting does it all. Fasting is emotional,
Yeah.
physical, emotional, spiritual. In my opinion, nothing connects you more spiritually to source than fasting and meditation. But fasting first, in my opinion, and then meditation comes. It would be amazing. Meditation while you're fasting is the best.
Yes.
You do, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been great, and I think, you know, fasting, it's in every single religious text you can find. So you think, well, it's been around forever, but we seem to have just lost it. You know, where it's written in every old scripture and old, you know, religious doctrine, but it's fallen by the wayside in so many, not every, but, you know, in so many cultures. So then you think there has to be something in it.
Oh yeah, there's so much wisdom in the ancient, you know, writings, and there's so much wisdom. And let's just go back. It's really not rocket science. It was there, and many of us have learned it growing up, you know, but we lost it as we, you know, maybe in the past 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I mean, what's so interesting, I think, as well, in some of the more ancient texts, is that, you know, things like quantum physics and it's sort of almost catching up to some of the stuff that was written in some of these ancient texts. It's quite amazing, and you think, well, they certainly didn't have the science then, but, you know, they're sort of proving some of the things that have been said and written, which is really interesting, you know.
All knowledge is within.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's always been there, hasn't it? You know, it's always been there. And now, you know, when sometimes, you know, science sort of gets involved, and I think science and spirituality in some way are sort of coming together, and starting to sort of, science is almost proving some of the stuff, or sort of confirming some of the stuff. And obviously, many people didn't need that confirmation, or don't need that confirmation, but, you know, it is doing that.
Well, if we wait for science, we'll all be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, because science is not working. They have to find another way now. Yeah, I don't see science to be the answer ever.
No,
I don't see it. It's not going to be taught in school how to connect. I don't see it, you know, or how to fast, and how, you know, tell people to stop eating, tell humanity to stop eating. I don't know about that. You know, you can tell them if
Not
you're
good for
very sick,
business.
it will help you. If you're very sick, it will help you not to die. But I don't see humanity. Forget about the people in power. Humanity, I don't, like, it's gonna take them a long time. Time to say, you know, to say, okay, well, maybe I can eat. Well, maybe, yeah, maybe it. I don't know. It's gonna take a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Food is a big one.
Yeah, well, that's it, because even sort of, you know, people in this group who are on board with those ideas and want to go down that road, it's still, the programming is still hard to shed, you know. So even when you're on board with the ideas, it's still hard to walk that walk, you know. So let alone, you know, coming from an, you know, far from the other side, you know, it's yeah, it's going to take generations and generations, um, if we've got that amount of time, that is. Yeah, yeah,
It could happen a lot quicker, you know, as the exponential growth hits a certain level. So many people are awakened to this knowledge, and then everybody wants to jump on board. This is usually the way things happen, or you know, in times of need. But the there's so much industries that would be affected if everybody ate less. So many,
yes,
because you know people have careers in food. You know, it's they make massive decisions and moves in their life across the planet to for just being in a certain career of food and so on and so forth. So there's
yes.
lots involved in that, and it's part of people socializing and everything else.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, it's, you know, massively affects economics, doesn't it? Global economics.
Hmm.
You know, it's food, petrol, all of it. Big pharma. You know, it's
Exactly.
all the whole thing. It's you know, it's a big thing to start unpicking and shifting. But I do think that, you know, the human consciousness is sort of, you know, it evolves, and we are evolving into another place now. Um, and you know, there will always be, like anything, there will only be sort of like the percentage, small percentages of people that are sort of making those leaps and those changes, but eventually then the momentum picks up and it goes. But you know, I think the human consciousness is evolving, it is changing, it has done over the millennia, you know, and it continues to do. I think we're heading into a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing reality and wanting change. And there's people doing it. You know, this group is proof of that.
Yep, there's lots happening with the shift generally around the planet, and it's a wonderful thing to see. You know, we we've been so indoctrinated. Like it's when we look at just the amount of food, for example, that's thrown every year,
Mm,
that could feed all the so-called starving, quote unquote, people around the planet. Just the food that's thrown,
yes,
10 times over probably. So it's
yes,
all a fallacy, and it's all uh, done to keep us under some kind of control, because nobody needs to be starving in this day and age. Nobody needs to have a place where they can't get water or a shelter or power. We are
yes,
at a time where everybody should be able to have all the basic necessities of his life
yeah.
without any exception. Anybody.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you look at sort of like the oil pipes. You can sort of route those oil pipes for, you know, hundreds and hundreds of miles across countries, but you can't route water pipes to places that need it. You know,
Exactly.
it's yeah, it's, of course it can be done. It's just there's no there's no monetary gain, so why would they?
Hmm.
You know, it's just it's you know, the need to move out of that, you know, that greed, that sort of mindset of greed, and I think that's what we've been in, you know, too much greed. um, but I think that is change, that, you know, as I say, I think that is definitely changing. I think it's, you know, I feel quite positive. I know a lot of people speak, you know, about the doom and gloom about the state of the world. And I kind of don't see it that way. I kind of see sometimes things, you know, almost have to get worse before they get better. So, you know, things are breaking down. Things definitely are breaking down.
Hmm.
And there's a movement of people that are are there. You know, we don't see the good news, do we? We don't, you know, they don't put that on the TV, the good
No.
news, all the good things that are going on, the projects that are happening. We don't get any of that. We only get the doom and gloom and the anxiety and the fear being pumped into us every day. Open a newspaper or turn on the radio, and that's what we hear. You know, but it is out there if you look elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
The good stuff.
Yep. That's what we need to focus on.
Yeah.
Just all the positive stuff will keep us motivated to move forward. You know, living in that fear state, man, it's just very, very draining and causes imbalance in everybody, all that stress and so on and so forth. It's just the emotional drain it gives people is just enormous. So, you know, that's why, you know, it's best throw your TV away
Yeah.
and choose who you want to hang around with and what you want to watch and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Especially for children.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's just becoming more aware of that type of thing. And as you say, it's not just about, you know, what you're allowing in your living room through a TV or airwaves, but the people that you surround yourself with, you know, being brave enough to cull those toxic friends or, you know, cut people out of your life, which are actually, you know, toxic to you. So which, you know, it goes against, I think, you know, good manners sometimes, you know, how we've got programming where you can't possibly be, you know, rude to that person and tell them that, you know, no or whatever, but, you know, because that's part of our programming as well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually cutting that as well and going, well, you know, at the same time, you want to put yourself first, but not in a selfish way, but in a way that is about, you know, taking care of yourself.
Actually, if anything, that this is the opposite of selfishness, because when you help yourself, you're able to help people. So
yeah,
you're helping people by helping yourself.
Absolutely. You know, it's put your own oxygen mask on first and then help others. Save yourself first, you know. And then you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel it, you know, I feel that I'm much nicer when I'm fasting compared to, you know, for example, when I'm eating, you know, like, it might take me 40 days or 60 days to go through a little bit of ups and downs. And then I feel, okay, I can give, I want to give, not I can, I want to give, you know, It's nice. Yeah, you start wanting to give, you start wanting to help, you start wanting to improve the whole world, you know, slowly, you know, take your time, but get on it, you know, and improve yourself, and you'll find that you'll be the nicest person.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I agree. I think a lot of people have said when I've done this, oh, I'd be too miserable not eating. You know, I'd be in a bad mood or I'd be crabby. And I think it's the complete opposite for me. In fact, I think I'm in a better mood. I mean, not always, but I think generally I'm more, I'm less emotional. I feel more in control of my responses and my reactions. I get wound up less easily. You know, not that I'm easily wound up, but sometimes I do, like anyone. I feel my triggers are more manageable when I'm fasting. So it's the kind of opposite. I think the first few days before your digestion stops and that, I think you can feel, you know, you can still feel hungry and you still having those cravings for food. But once that you get past that, it just drops away.
Exactly. The more you eat, the hungrier you get. The more you drink, the thirstier you get.
Yeah.
The more emotional you get as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to be able to become your best version. It's nice.
Yeah, you know, and then, as you say, when you are feeling better about yourself and stronger in yourself, that is, you're able to be stronger for other people. So yeah, I think we're all doing our own little bit. When we heal ourselves emotionally and physically, in fact, I know it sounds a bit of a cliche, but in some ways, you are helping the whole of society. It's like, we all just one cell in the body of humankind, and I don't want to be a cancerous one. I want to be a healthy one.
Mm-hmm.
To help
Be
the whole
body. Yeah, be the change.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is the most effective way to create change. Like for example, like Gandhi, one man, what he accomplished
with love, right?
Yes. Well, love is it, isn't it? It's compassion, love. Those are the emotions. Those are the high vibrational emotions as well. That's what we want to be feeling. And even just sitting with feelings of gratitude and stuff like that, that you can change the brain. You can see that from neuroscience research. Even meditating, you can change. They've shown research of how you can change the brain, permanently. So those states are ultimately what we want to try and be in or stay in as much as we can.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing when we start getting a taste of that sense of balance and freedom. It's there's nothing else like it. There's no material things that'll give you that. Nowhere on the planet. It's it's just wonderful. Uh, I'm in Central America here. I flew dry and I landed here in this very extreme heat. When you're not used to it, it takes a while to get used to. I'm used to. Been in some of the islands years ago, but it takes you a few weeks before you start getting used to it. Being dry, walking around, not having to worry about anything, and people ask, don't you want to get some? No, 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 drink, no, no. You're like, well, this guy's from another planet or something. It's pretty funny when you see people's reactions, but the belief systems, you can't live without water and blah 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 and whatever. So you get that a lot. We're going down a very unique path that very few will choose. Very, very few. Some will try it and then they'll jump back out because it's just too revealing for their emotions and they just can't handle it. They just numb themselves back up. They just don't want to deal with that. So this is where the food comes in and why we're so addicted to food. Everybody's so addicted.
Yeah, too big of a change for some people, I guess.
Even the domesticated animals, their emotions are at the same levels as their owners, because they feed them the same times, or whatever. Sometimes they get in the same foods. I've seen people do that, and the animals are just in the same state, and you detox the animals. They go through the same things.
Yes, but even sort of things like anxiety, you can get anxious animals if their owners are anxious.
Yes, exactly.
They pick up on that, don't they?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen that.
Yeah.
But you don't know. We don't have all the answers, but boy, oh boy, the miracles that we've seen people go through in short times, and the people that have stuck with it for longer, it just keeps getting better and better. And if people would have that trust and faith and commit instead of trying, you know,
Yeah.
the road is wide open. You know, the doors are wide open for them to keep going.
Yeah.
And everybody is free to do it gently. They can do if they want, even 1 week. You know, there is no set number. You do whatever you want. If you want to go further to see some deep healing, do 40 days. You know, to
Well,
208. But you know, do it at your level. And
that's okay if somebody doesn't have life, you know,
yeah,
life-threatening challenges.
yeah, I
Uh,
know. But
a week ain't gonna help you.
the fear is not a good drive for anyone. So to be afraid of dying of a disease, you know, is
It's
not
not
going
be a
to
fear. It's a
be.
choice. Do they want to live or not? That's all it is. They need to make that choice and do whatever it takes, no matter what, no matter how long. Simple. For people who don't have those, you know, that are not in those states, yeah, they can, you know, play around with it, dabble it here and there, and
I mean,
start making
yeah,
it part of their life.
yeah. Challenges like diseases and this and that are, you know, are great. They're a wake up call. They are here for us to challenge us so we can grow. So use them this way rather than be afraid. But you want to have faith, of course, to keep going on this path. You know, like it's a big change. It's a big change for people. Some people coming from standard and very sick, with life, whatever they were told they're gonna die. You know, so to change that faith and to remove the fear is a big challenge for sure. You know, do your best. Make it a lifestyle. Do your best. Do your best. Definitely
Yeah,
find your balance.
most of us, including myself, you know, we wait till it's almost too late. You're in a situation. Wow, what happened? And you know, we ignore the little signals for months or years before, and then bang, then it hits you. This happens all the time, all the time. So you know, those
Mm.
little signals here, there, and so on and so forth, all little pains and aches, and these are all little signals. Pain is not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But also, I think sometimes we know we need to rejoice with the symptoms, because that is the alarm saying there's something wrong. But then, you know, what happens? You go to the doctor and they give you tablets to suppress those symptoms.
mm-hmm.
Not deal with actually what's, you know, rather than looking at, well, what is happening, what's causing this. They then, you know, just give you medications to suppress whatever you're feeling, whatever physical symptoms those are. Um, so, and then it obviously, you know, just gets worse. And then the medication that you're on then causes other issues, other imbalances in your body. It's a horrible, vicious circle.
For
But
sure.
people don't.
Because they're toxic.
Yeah.
Because they're not. You're not supposed to take them. That's why it's not side
Yeah.
effects. It's effects.
Yeah.
It is effects of the medication. It's
Yeah.
not side effect. It did not do anything good for you.
No.
In my opinion.
No. But then, and then, you know, but then also the original issue gets doesn't get looked at. You know.
They get suppressed. It's like an engine light on a car. You cut the wire for the engine light. Did the problem go away? No, that's what drugs do. They cut
Yeah.
the wire to the feeling. So, and people believe they're getting better, and it's just doing
Yeah.
more damage.
No, absolutely. There's no healing going on. There's just suppression. So, you know, and so the original, whatever causing those symptoms is still there, which is just getting worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that's the thing. I think people just they don't look at it that way, do they? They don't see it as, you know, okay, well, these are signs and symbols, or, you know, symptoms to tell me that there's something as a deeper issue. Let me go and try and
Mm-hmm.
get to the bottom of that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe do a detox or whatever. But then I suppose people, it's also what you know, it's faith, isn't it? You've got people have faith in the medical world.
Yep.
And they believe that is, they know best, and they're there to help you, and you know, that's their belief. They don't think that it's going to do worse for them. They think it's going to help them. And that's also something that needs to be broken. You know, that idea. And I don't think doctors are necessarily evil. You know, they don't go into it to make people sick. I think a lot of doctors do think that that's the right way, but unfortunately, it's causing so much harm.
Well, that's what they've been taught,
100%.
and
Yeah,
that's what they believe because they have
yeah,
Yeah.
all the science literature to back them up. That's been funded by the same people.
It's
yeah,
the schooling. It's the schools. This is the curriculum. Same thing with science and anything in the medical field. There's
yeah,
something that you study and you believe it's the right thing,
yeah,
and you believe you're helping people. But yeah, the big picture is definitely not there. I mean, I studied science, and it's just way too detailed for you to help yourself with this
mm,
information or help anybody else. You know, it does not look at the big picture. It's too much into the like specifics of things, and you study how this disease and this and that, but then like, okay, and then what? People are
yeah.
sick, we're still sick, you know, we're still depressed, you know.
Well, I think modern medicine is based on Newtonian principles. So it's about the object, it's about the knee, it's about it's very specific. It doesn't look at the body as a whole system, and they certainly don't take into consideration quantum physics, which is about the energy. So it's very much just focused on the physical, and that's their training. And so obviously it needs to be updated. It needs to be updated and rehauled and looked at. But so what they're trained in, and is their thinking, and it's the only way they look at it, which is really out of date, isn't it? I mean, it's just crazy that it's still based on those
Yeah,
principles.
they were smarter, like the people were smarter 100 years ago. I mean, in terms of health, you know, they had more
Yeah.
common sense. We lost common
Yes.
Yes.
sense.
Well, we keep
Yeah.
adding to the
Yeah.
knowledge.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I think we've been cut off from that in a way. We just the common sense and the intuition. I don't think it gets followed or heard anymore. You know.
Times are changing.
Yeah.
Times
Yeah.
are changing.
Yeah.
If this master fast that was brought out in 10 years ago, even people thought it was crazy. Even they think it's crazy now, but back then, or 20 years ago, even more so. When I started vegetarianism, the people thought, well, you're crazy or what?
Yeah. Well, that's it.
In
Veganism.
1990, it
Yeah.
was unheard of.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, it started taking. Mhm.
Yeah. And veganism
Go ahead.
as well. I mean, that was, say 15 years ago, people didn't even understand what that was. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it's. I mean, certainly, in the UK and London, I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's becoming so mainstream veganism. You can find there's whole shopping aisles just for vegan cheeses and milks and all sorts of things, and so many restaurants have vegan options, and not just sort of really good restaurants. It's becoming, lots of the big chains as well. It's just becoming quite a mainstream thing here, and very easy to. I mean, talking about veganism is not necessarily healthy, but certainly that idea of cutting out dairy and meat and everything is becoming really big here in the UK, and easy to access.
Yeah. That's a good thing, So the cutting out the part where we can actually see the pain and suffering from other beings, but we got to go further,
Yeah.
and that's where less is more. Even moving to the plants, we need to go less. Eating 7 days a week. No, there's not necessary. It's crazy to go back to
Mm,
eating 7 days a week. It's just way too much food. You're gonna start
yeah.
building obstructions no matter what you eat.
Yeah.
7 days a week. So slowly but surely things are changing, and it's great. In Toronto is yeah, it's pretty vegan, vegetarian friendly. Not as much as UK, I don't think. More so, I believe, in Vancouver, in BC, on the West Coast. Those places there, more so. But yeah, the world's changing. Some are still in the dark ages in some places, but it's okay. There was even a vegan restaurant. Somebody was telling us in the capital here in Belize. I go, really? So yeah, it's growing. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a start, isn't it? I mean, you know, as
Yeah,
you
of
say,
course.
it's not, but it's at least people thinking about, you know, about those things, and then maybe taking it further.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it's great. It's great. It's great to see it. And more people, they kind of do this thing now. They always did. Every year they would do a thing called Dry January, where, you know, they promote people wouldn't drink for January, and now they're doing a thing called vegan January, which is going vegan for January at least. So that's been promoted.
Wow. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of trying to get people to think about it and to make the switch, even if it's just for a month, to give themselves a taster.
Yeah. If people let go of the animal products, would make a huge change on the planet.
Yeah.
There's billions of animals being killed. Uh, is it daily or yearly? I don't know. It's just a lot of animals. I think it's daily.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And that's what they said, that even if people just who are meat eaters, even if all those people just gave up meat for 1 day a week, what the knock-on
Mm-hmm.
effect of what that would do for the environment is so huge. You know,
Yeah.
just 1 day. So, yeah. So even just
Okay.
cutting down.
Lisa wrote. Yeah, Lisa wrote over 1 billion animals killed every week around the planet. It's a lot
Wow.
of animals.
Yeah.
I would think it's more. There's 7 billion people.
Yeah.
It's either number is massive.
Yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, you know, you're consuming that that trauma from that animal as well.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You take in all the emotions, for sure.
So it's, you know, it's every way you look at it, isn't it? You know, it's it's just not. And plus as well, I mean, even then people will say, well, if you, as long as you're eating organic and it's grass fed and whatever, but you know, it's mostly the meat's not that. But then even if you are eating that, it's, you know, it still is causing obstruction in the body and leaving a large amount of residue.
Mm-hmm.
And the animal, you know, has it had, what type of life? It might be organic, but what type of life has it actually had? You know, still, how was it sorted? You know.
Yeah, you can't get away from the emotions. That's going to be taken on the karmically or whatever you want to call it. Everything has cause and effect. So you know, in this day and age, you know, as things are going, people are becoming more and more aware. But I see a lot of the younger generations are catching on to some degree. So it's a movement in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think some of the younger generations are much more sort of wanting to make these changes. They're ready for it. They're born for it, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even like my son, you know, I didn't pressure or anything into him deciding to become vegetarian. You know, it was him, even before I decided. He had been ages been saying, you know, he wanted to give up meat. Kept on speaking about becoming fully vegan, but I don't think he was
Mm-hmm.
fully ready for that, of what that meant.
How old is he?
He is 10. So he's been saying it since he was not even 8. And so yeah, so he's now vegetarian, and he's loving that, and he's now sort of saying, he still likes cheese, so he's still eating his cheese and yogurts and stuff like that. So we're sort of speaking about alternatives now, because he's saying, well, he'll find it difficult. What could he? So we're talking about, we're looking at alternatives for him, and we're trying some alternatives. We've tried like the almond milk. He doesn't like it. We've tried some other milks. We have to find one that works for him, that he can enjoy.
Coconut milk is nice. I think it's the best one.
Yeah, we've tried that. He likes that. He likes it, but then he doesn't like it on breakfast. He does still have cereal. So yeah, it's just to I suppose change it up, to find something. It doesn't have, it would be better if he doesn't have cereal as well. So it's just baby steps in getting him, but he's totally on board. It's my daughter who is horrified at the idea of giving up her chicken or whatever. And I don't want to force her either, but I just keep on trying to speak to her about it.
Especially when the father is still eating, it's not fair.
Yeah, and she's 8, so she's younger. But she's like me. When I was her age, I was a real meat eater. That's what I wanted. I wanted the meat. I hardly ate vegetables when I was very little like that. I just wanted, I wanted chicken. I wanted steak. Yeah, I was a real carnivore. And then actually when I got into my teens, I changed a bit more and started eating much more vegetables and less meat, but still meat.
Yeah, my son was born vegan and my daughter wasn't, which was after my son. And my son's still vegan, my daughter's still not. And now even my son's friends, some of them are turning into vegans. He's he's 24.
Yeah.
So he's never ever eaten any meat.
That's amazing.
Or dairy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. If you can start that way, where they don't even know what they're missing, because they've never had it. That's great. That's the ideal. But of course, they were old enough still to want to make their own choice. There wasn't so little that I could just change it. They were old enough to have had a burger, and like them. So not want to give them up.
Yeah, I mean, Gino, because also you were already different back then, right? So your son didn't just come up vegan. I mean, you were also you were vegan yourself, right? And the mother was vegan as well.
That's what I said. We were vegan, but then when she was pregnant with my daughter, she ate everything, and my daughter's not vegan. I'm just using an example just with my 2 children. The difference from when the mother is eating vegan or the mother's not eating vegan, it makes a huge change in difference in the outcome. Huge.
So your daughter eats meat, eats
everything.
Dairy, everything, yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's very simple. It's the ex-wife decided to go back to eating everything, and when she was pregnant with my daughter, and that's what the daughter eats. My daughter eats. So it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, obviously when I was pregnant, I was still eating everything. And, when they were little, they were, getting everything. I wasn't, feeding them what would be seen as clean eating, I suppose, and healthy. Everything cooked from scratch, but, it's still all of the stuff, We've never been into lots of processed foods or takeaways or anything like that. I would have seen it as what I would have thought was healthy eating. Lean meats and not a lot of red meat, mostly fish, mostly chicken, that type of thing. But I would have, in a traditional sense, you see that as healthy, low fat, but it's obviously not. Yeah.
Anybody
got any questions before we wrap it up here? We're getting to 2-hour mark.
Yeah, Lisa mentioned that well, I don't know what it was. Yeah, There are a series of videos, especially for kids, on a channel called Bite Size Vegan. She said, you can do it. It worked for us.
Yeah, yeah, I'm going to look into that. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because that's the thing. I think it's just, you know, what I really don't want to do, because I also think, you know, you don't want to squash their spirit, and make them do, you know, control them, force them to do stuff. But, you know, so I do want them to make their own decisions and come to it themselves. But so all I can hope to do is try keep on educating her, speaking to her, and my husband for that matter, and hopefully they'll come to that themselves, you know.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. She said, okay, yeah. So she said that they all turned vegan. Oh, yeah. The kids all turned vegan, and they're your kids' age as well.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great to have a chat about that. Yeah. Yeah, because it's, you know, it's tricky, you know. And she, as I say, my daughter is, you know, well, I give her a lot of vegetarian food because I'm cooking a lot of that anyway. But sometimes she'll just demand it. She'll say, "No, I want a chicken breast,"
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then of course it's in the house because, you know, my husband's eating it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little more challenging when you have one parent eating the same food.
Yeah, he's eating a lot less of it, much more vegetarian as well, but also still wants it, and still not ready to give it up.
So, you know, do your part, in my opinion, and that's educating your kids, of course, because that's how people change. And the other thing is make it easier for them. So prepare the best you can prepare vegan versions of things, you know, and let them try it and enjoy it together.
Yes.
And they can have on the side, they can have the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah, it is. And I'm hoping as my daughter gets a bit older, her palate will change as well. Because my son's definitely has. You know, he's much more, you know, he wasn't when he was younger, he really didn't like soups and stuff like that so much. Now he loves them. That's one of his favorite meals. I make him a butternut soup and he loves that. And she'll eat it, but it's not, you know, she'll eat it because I've made it.
Yeah, but it's not enough. She wants the other stuff too.
Yeah,
There's addiction.
She wants a chicken breast grilled and then chopped into the butternut soup. That's what she wants. So most of the time I say no. Then every now and then, if she really hasn't had it for a long time, I'll say yes. But
there's an addiction.
Yeah, but my son is, you know, loves it. It's one of his favorite things, especially in winter. Loves that. So yeah,
she's attached to the meats still. So
really likes it. So yeah, it's a bit of a way to go there still. Yeah.
Is she younger or older than your son?
So she's 8 and my son's 10. Yeah. So yeah, she's very, you know, she's very strong-minded. Likes things her way. I mean, my son is to a degree, but he's easier to sort of mold and to, you know, you can persuade and whatever. She's not so much, you know. She's definite about her ideas. So I don't know if some of it is just stubbornness. Is just I've said no and I'm saying no. I don't know if some of it is a bit of that. You know, yeah, because even sort of sometimes I see it in her personality so much. You know, even like a film or something, which you'll say, "Oh, we're going to watch this film." She said, "No, I don't like it. I don't like it." And you'll see after they say, "Oh, you're enjoying it." No, not really, but you can see she's enjoying it. But you know, it's just she has to prove her point. So she's got that part of her personality. So maybe it's something to do with that.
All right. We're at the 2-hour mark. And anybody else, or we just call it a close here? Let's We thank you so much, Colleen, for sharing your experience and inspiring others. It's been great pleasure to have you here. And we'll see you on the board.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
It was very nice to our chat. It feels just, just chatting. I love that.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Catching up and learning about each other's experiences.
Yeah,
joining.
Yeah,
So,
and nice to meet the two of you properly and everyone else here. Really, really great. So thank you so much for inviting me on and having me this evening.
And thank you for reaching out. You came to us, and I love that. Yeah. Thank you so much. Not many people do that. I'm so happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, you're welcome. Really, really been an honor to be on here tonight.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, folks. So sorry about the internet's crappy down here, but we'll keep that plasma love flowing no matter what. And we'll see you all on the page. We have a call tomorrow with 2 other guests. If anybody, I don't know if they'll listen to this on time, if we'll get it uploaded. But anyway, we'll see everybody on the page, and have an awesome day, afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Thank you. Cheers.